Hi, I'm Jennaya Robison, and I'm the Artistic Director of the National Lutheran Choir. And for many of you, this might be the first time that we've had a chance to meet. And I'm here to welcome you to our virtual video subscription content and talk to you a little bit about singing through life. One of the most miraculous things that I think about choral singing is that we can really take anybody at any stage of life and welcome them into the choral ensemble, and with a varying degree of initial proficiency, get them to be able to be an active and valuable contributor to the ensemble. And that's not true for our friends in wind ensembles and orchestras, that you can't just pick up a violin at age 40 and then walk in the next day and play in an orchestra. Maybe a very beginning one, but that we're able to take people at various stages of life and welcome them into the process of singing is something that I think is really remarkable about choir, and allows us to create a community that is really extraordinary. As a conductor, and many of us who are directors at churches or at schools, that we notice that we have various levels of ability, where as in an orchestra, you might have a reasonable level of everybody being at the same level of proficiency. You might have an orchestra that's full of undergraduate music majors, whereas I might have a choir that, like NLC, is full of people ranging from early 20s all the way up to mid 70s. Some of them are professional musicians. Some of them have been music majors. But we also have folks in there who are doctors and lawyers and nurses and engineers. And they all bring to it a really remarkable level of passion, but also various levels of skill and various levels of ages. So I want to talk just a little bit about that idea of singing through life. As I've been a church musician since I was an undergraduate student, I have noticed that there are folks that are really excited about getting involved in choir, and then some who are hesitant. I want to push back on some of the biases that people might have about, can they sing? Oh, we don't sing. My kid doesn't want to sing in church choir because our family, we don't sing. Those ideas, I think, are troublesome, because truly singing is just a skill. There's a fantastic book that I've been reading called Grit by Angela Duckworth. And there's a whole segment in the beginning of it that talks about talent. And I think one of the things that can be problematic about music making is that we bring with us this idea of, I either have talent for it or I don't. And there are people who do have more natural aptitude. You might see one of these videos on YouTube of a kid who's playing a piano concerto at 4 years old. That's a lot of natural aptitude, but I bet that's a lot of hard work too. And one of the things that she says in this book here is, by shining our spotlight on talent, we risk leaving everything else in the shadows. We inadvertently send the message that these other factors, including grit, don't matter as much as they really do. I had the Scottsdale Children's Choir. This was about 15 years ago. It was a part of an organization called Scottsdale Musical Arts that my husband and I started. And I had a child who came in, and she was 5. And a lot of times at that age, it's more just about getting them to be able to work in cooperation with one another, just getting them to not be afraid about making different sounds. And this student was having trouble matching pitch. So I had children who were able to sing and match pitch to a very good degree of skill. And then I had one baritone in the choir who is this precious little 5-year-old girl. Her mom and I were talking about it, and her mom was kind of laughing that she could hear that her daughter was having trouble with that. And I said, you know what, let's bring her in a few minutes early before rehearsal so I can work with her and see what's going on individually. And so we worked for weeks, and I was getting frustrated. I thought, I'm pretty good at this, and I am not finding the magic wand to get this to work. And suddenly she and I were talking one day. I just off the top of my head said, use your princess voice to do it. Use it way up here. And she did, and she went, woo! And I had never heard that sound come out of her before. And I said, that's the voice. That's what we need. And she says to me, oh, my aunt says that's my silly voice. I shouldn't use that singing voice. And I told her, no, actually, that's the voice you're supposed to use. As adults, we were putting some kind of bias on her to tell her that that is not the right voice to use for singing. On the flip side of things, I've worked with folks who are in their 70s, and this is probably the most common tale that I hear, folks who have not sung since they were children. And someone influential, could be a teacher, could be a parent, could be a sibling, heard them singing and said, ooh, you should not sing. And it could have been something as easy as they were singing along to the radio in the back of the car and somebody made fun of them. And those kind of comments are so impactful on the psyche of a person, because singing, unlike if I'm playing a clarinet, I can't blame a bad reed or a bad key. Singing is me. And if something vocally goes wrong, there's no running away from the fact that that's part of us. And I may have an excuse that, I have a cold or I'm tired, but that it really is so intertwined with who we are as people. I don't think there's anyone who would deny that singers can be a little bit more emotionally tied to that experience because it is so personal. When doctors talk about things even like depression or different emotions, people can actually have a physical response to things that are going on emotionally. That's very true also with the singing voice. And so you may notice that if you're at church, let's say on Christmas Eve, and there's a favorite carol of yours that you love. For me, I can hardly get through, I think it's the third verse of Holy, 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 that hymn every single time just chokes me up, because I remember as a kid asking my dad, what is cherubim and seraphim? What are those? And so every time it brings me back to that moment, and I can hardly sing through it. There's just that intrinsic linking of my emotions and the singing voice. And that can work really well to our advantage and create this experience that if you ask members of a choir, what brings you back? What made you want to do this in the first place? Almost invariably, they will say there was some experience that I had singing in a choir and there were goosebumps and I don't know what happened to me. And they're chasing after that experience constantly. Conversely, if you have someone who criticizes you when you have gone outside yourself and really been bold and taken a risk to sing, it can be a damaging story that impacts you for the rest of your life. And you will see people that say that they can't sing because one person discouraged them. And so for those of us who are teachers, for those of us who are parents, or for those of us who are just friends listening to our other friends sing, be careful. Know that your words matter. Being able to welcome people into the space, to be able to make sounds and to sing later on in life is truly a privilege. I've had people come up to me who are retirement age and highly successful individuals in every area of their life, and they're reduced to feeling like a 10-year-old child again. Tears in their eyes saying, I didn't think I could do this. I was told very early on, you shouldn't sing. I was told by my music teacher, everybody else is going to sing, but you're going to mouth it. And so as we start to talk about singing through the ages, these are the experiences that we're going to bring to be able to put a human face on the idea of being able to sing wherever you're at, whatever age you're at, whatever level of competency you feel like you have musically or vocally, that it truly is a skill. You really can join your church choir. You can decide to go and do a community justice sing in your area, to be able to engage with people in singing, and that, bring what you have, come as you are, and that we welcome that unique experience that is intrinsic to singing. So we'll talk more about that in this series about singing through life. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you can join us for more content in person and online.